TUH, Hyderabad. And yes, he is the founder of Shiksha Gyanam Life Learning Residential Camp, which is something which is very extraordinary because that's where his life training, the training for life, actually takes place. Well, we would like to welcome him on this platform, and he will be talking to us on the topic Better Life in 3 C's, which is consistent, commitment, and connections. Namaskar, Dr. Professor TPS. Yes, we are waiting to hear from you. So, how are you today?
As always, enjoying my sister Alka.
Thank you. Wonderful. That's good to know.
It's always
amazing.
Always same, no change.
Good. That's the way it should be. Enjoying life to the fullest.
Otherwise, what is the point? What is the point in talking about consistency? And one day you say, and
absolutely,
the question itself is useless when you talk about consistency.
Okay, that's your humor and wit and grit.
Namaskaram.
Yes, we're waiting to listen to you.
Namaskaram, my sister Elizabeth. Thank you again for this mindset transformation session. As all of you, both sisters, Queen Elizabeth from UK and Alka Maharaj. Everybody calls the other fellow as Maharaj, Queens. Declare yourself. I myself was a landlord from my village. Probably none of you had the land as much I had in my childhood. My mother was owning 1 lakh acres of land, which none of you can dream in your life. But I still don't call myself as queen or king. I like to be a servant. We call everybody who serves government as servants. Even if you are the governor, you are supposed to be called as servant. That's a tradition which we have. All of you with the high decorations just now told Brother Charles made a powerful communication. I think he spoke about communication, consistency and connections. So now what should I speak? Soon after that. So I have nothing to speak. I cannot be as dictionary powerful. I cannot be with all the vocabularies what you can get. I cannot add anything new. So I like to ask you if you have some questions. But then I think making life successful was what was mentioned. Transformation, success, life. These are all words which are very difficult to define. What is success? Just now before that, Holies was telling $1 million business. What is this $1 million business you do and what million you earn in your money, in your life? That is success. I have worked with the richest of the richest in India. At least 1.5 years I was with him. I was with him discussing hours together. And the rich man has always complaints only. He has got physical problems. He has got emotional problems. The relatives are problems always. He needs somebody to consult on computing something immediately because he don't get answers for his questions when emotionally he is upset, intellect doesn't work. Right? Spiritually he depend on many people because he don't have time for all this. Socially, yes, you become slightly active in society. Today's world is world of beggars, not givers. Only you give lecture, but physically nothing is given. You connect to somebody, immediately they will say, I want something from you, I want this from you, I want that from you. How do you know the merit of that person unless you have an interaction? So connection is not connecting people because you just have his contact. I keep finding Dr. Elizabeth mentioning in the group that don't connect to somebody to disturb. I also find out somebody who is bad to get connected and put in the group and tell, no, this person is actually dangerous. Sometimes we know, but we know because your judgment is what creates trust for you. And that trust is based on judgments, not judgments. How many times, how long, is it different occasions of good and bad? Yeah, it's nice to be a very good person. You drink only good water, stay in only nice place, everything is air conditioned in your life, every good situation, and you cannot see physically I am strong. No, you have to get into the bad situations and see how you can survive with it. Maybe you have every support in your life, and you cannot say emotionally I am very strong because you have not faced any problems. Only when you climb mountains you can check whether your life parameters are strong or not. You cannot be on a very comfortable situation and say that, yeah, I can do hard things in my life. You have to venture into hard things. So unless you have all that situations where you can put somebody into test, there is no point in saying that, oh, the relationship is consistent. You have to break. You have to fight. So you need to have lot of time with them. And there are people who live quite so long together and then one day they will say, I will show you my real face when they get angry. That means until now, all these years, they showed a fake face, right? The first word what you use when you get angry is, I will show you my real face. That means what? So the world is full of fake. How do you believe people? How do you get connected to people? How do you communicate to them? What is that relationship which shows you are a person who can give something to somebody else without any expectations? Then you are very rich. Otherwise you are a beggar. You are expecting something from somebody for every contact, every word. Yeah, I know Dr. Queen Elizabeth. So immediately I want something from her. I am a beggar. Really, I am a beggar. So my guru taught me, my master taught me, always you should pray that let me of no use to anybody. Let me of no use to anybody in this world. That means indirectly I am praying, let everybody become sufficiently helpful by themselves. If you are not helpful by yourself and you depend on somebody else, don't get connected to them because you are connecting to a beggar. Your working together should be only with the equal powers. Otherwise, that relationship will not be very active. Your communication will be of no standard. Assume that you talk to somebody who is very low. There is a great saying, somebody wanted to be a millionaire. The best method is to talk to billionaires. Assume that you are with a company of low level people, your thoughts cannot be great unless you can bring them up. So there are two responsibilities for leadership. One is you should have connection to people on top and that brings you up. And also you make people who are below you to pull them up. And while pulling up, put them into test. That is a consistency test. In all science experiments, we have consistency test. In statistics, how do I check somebody is good or not? If I have got 100 questions to answer for an emotional quotient measurement, I cannot give 100 questions. I should have 50 questions. And the rest of the 50 questions are repeated in indirect way so that it contradicts and conflicts with the first few questions. So I know, oh, this man is faking. So what do I do? I ask some questions on whether you love music. Yes, fine. I leave it there. Maybe after some time I should ask him which is the best musician you love. Right? And if that question is not answered, probably you have an option not to answer everything. And he is not answering that. That means he doesn't like music at all. If that question is not able to answer, that means you have not assessed somebody. Assume that you ask somebody, are you a foodie? Yes, I love food. Maybe after, don't ask the same question, next question. Ask after maybe 50 questions, another question asking which food you like. Which country is the best for maybe a very specific food. So this consistency check is part of general assessment of people. It is how you can also do it. Regularly you can do it. See, I communicate to maybe get 1,000 messages per day. I have seen people, when you send something immediately, they will send their requirements. That means they are not even reading what you are sending to them. That means they have no interest in somebody's. Right? When you send something immediately, they will ask, how do I open this? They are living in a digital world. They don't know how to open the YouTube. That means they don't even have set their mobile for uploading. So what is to be done? Just ignore them. There is no point in communicating to them further. You can educate them, you can try. So communication is not blah blah blah. Communication is understanding how the other person is responding. If response is not there, reflection is not there, communication is just a recorded portion which you can send to somebody else. So understand, communication is not hearing, communication is not sound, communication is not verbal jugglery, communication is understanding. Listen to understand and then reflect. Suppose you listen to half an hour lecture and you have nothing, a single point to write down. You have no point to write down. The whole half an hour becomes just a blah 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 where you have not registered anything in your mind. So it's essential to give the audience a time to reflect, a time to respond. If that doesn't happen, it is only a one-way traffic. Communication is not a one-way traffic. Communication is a two-way dialogue. You are internally also communicating. You are seeing a person, you are listening to him, you are writing. When you are writing, the word in the ear gets communicated to your fingertip and that gets transformed into that notebook. So you can imagine it stays in your body for some time. Right? So then my half an hour talk here becomes successful. If every half an hour, every moment which you spend in your life, you don't have anything to credit in your life, you are a poor man. So what is success in my life? A succession of successes, which can be connection, communication, consistency, getting people, talking to somebody else, much, much, much higher than knowing many billionaires in your handful contacts. Makes you more richer than being one of the millionaire or billionaire. Right? So connection and contact. Don't believe that connection is just getting connected to people knowing their address. Connection is with the trust, consistently, you are in communication and you can trust him. And that such people will get into your contact only when you are not a beggar. Nobody loves to keep contact with the beggars. So you have to be a giver. And then your business, assume that you wanted to be in business. You are a reliable person. You are an honest person. You have a goodwill, not by my growth, my somebody's growth also, right? And you are an open person. Oh, this person has come to me not for his purpose. I want to be in contact with you for what? The first sentence will be, yeah, I am there to support you. But that the support doesn't happen if assume that you doesn't deserve to get supported, you don't get support. So it needs to be part of your affirmation and confirmation with the counterpart. Because in communication, in contacts and consistency relationship, social relationship, it is not individual, it is individual to individual. Maybe the other individual can be an individual or an ownership of a society, maybe an institution, maybe a society, an NGO, or maybe I have got contact with many such individuals. You need to firmly serve people. That is what everybody wants. Because being human is human being social is social being. It is not authority, it is not the power, it is not the richness, it is not the knowledge. There are a lot of people with great knowledge. Every library is a book with a lot of data inside that. So if you are able to mug up that and then tell you are equivalent to a mobile library, unless you process it and make it yours and then with a human touch, that is what is essential. So communication need to be with all that emotional, intellectual, social, spiritual part added to that. Then, oh, you understand this person is fit for transforming somebody else. Otherwise, you may get transformed by yourself, which doesn't stay for longer. This is what I wanted to tell, but I thought I will not tell anything, but I thought I should make few points to start. Yeah, if you have some questions.
DrTPS, may I ask you a question?
Always welcome. That's what I love.
Okay. So you were talking about, the communication connections of people. Now, when we are in conversation with a person who happens to be a conversational narcissist, how do we deal with them without really hurting them?
I think the master of such an art is Queen Elizabeth herself. She knows how to cut people very sharp without hurting them. Okay. She is very good in that. See, that is why I said we must know people this person is disturbing. Better to ignore them. There are a lot of people. See, Alka knowingly used the word.
That be, if we ignore all the time, wouldn't that be disrespectful?
No, Alka, you made two words. We are talking about communication, but Alka very specifically used the word conversation. Conversation is casual.
Okay.
In conversation, I can cut anybody. In communication,
so minus the conversation.
Yeah.
If I minus the conversation and just talk about a narcissist.
See, what is the difference? What is the difference between a communication and a conversation? Conversation is too casual. I can have a cup of tea over which I have a conversation. I can change one subject to another subject. You may be talking about cinema. I will say, no, I don't like cinema. Let us talk about the food. That is a conversation. Communication is well formatted. The time given, I am supposed to. So it is too formal. So informal, the person who is chairing, I am not a great person when in this framework of webinar today, two people are the people who are organizing this and arranging this, and then the control is yours. You are the chair. It's like in our Alka knows that when somebody gets into a ship, even the highest officer in Army, Air Force, Navy is not the captain of the ship. Captain of the ship is the captain of the ship. Everybody else is below him. They are supposed to listen to him. That's it. Anybody in this world who is the highest of the highest officer is flying in an aircraft. The pilot is the most powerful person. If you ask somebody sit down, that means you should sit down. That's it. Correct. So I am in a formatted communication program like a webinar or any discussion which is happening. The chair is the person who can cut anybody top. Stop means stop. That's it. See, in a parliament or maybe in an assembly, we have speaker. Speaker is much lower than the prime minister. But speaker is in the chair. Even the prime minister has to respect the speaker. So it is always like that. So when the session is there, the chair has a responsibility to run the program within the time. So it's very well formatted. I am working in a format. So realize that format and then obey that. That is what is to be done.
This is all very well, but I still have doubts about that portion particular. So in our lives, we deal with the people who are just, they just talk about themselves, Just today, for example, in the morning, I met someone like that. So, I mean, it was a little difficult for me to handle because after some time, and I'm a human also, so I felt impatient.
Best thing, record it and send it to them. I do that sometimes. Horrible.
Okay, well, this is what I was looking. I was actually looking at a witty and gritty answer.
Very practical situation.
Yeah,
what you do is record it and say, I record it and say that I enjoyed the conversation. I hope that you enjoy it more and send it to them. You enjoy it by using.
Okay. Yeah, this is a good one.
I do that. These are all what I do.
Yeah, thank you. Dearest Queen, would you want to say something?
I quickly want to ask this simple question because he's my mentor. So either we are in this platform or any platform, I like to ask him question. Right? Is it okay for timing a conversation? Is it okay to time it? I mean, to set a time for it. Like, for example, if you want to discuss, or if somebody is talking to you and you've already planned to speak to that person maybe for 30 minutes, and the person is going all along, and end up in 1 hour or 2 hours. Well, is it okay to time them?
Yeah, definitely. Even a visitor comes to your house, you can tell that, I am free between this time to this time. Why not? See the best.
These are boundaries that one sets for oneself.
No, generally, if you know the person who is somebody is coming, you can tell at 4 o'clock I have got a webinar. So if you come at 3, I will have time up to 4 o'clock. I always keep a 20 minutes cushion and say, assume that I have to attend something at 2:30. I will say 2 o'clock onwards I am busy. So I am cutting it to 2 o'clock. Whoever comes and any conversation. Today I must have sent more than 1,000 messages. So it's not that easy to manage your time. No, I don't say manage your time. I say managing your activities. So time is not in our control. Activities are in our control. So unless if you are a lazy person and you have nothing to do in your life, fine. See, in India, I don't know what happens in UK. India, every day you get lot of calls from the marketing persons. Once your number is there in social media, they keep saying, do you want a personal loan? Immediately I ask them back one question. Do you give a personal loan for a person who is 85 years old? I am 85 years old now. Finished. I am sure that person will cut my number from the sequence. No time that company will come back to me.
Yeah.
So you must. That is what you should do.
Wonderful.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yes. Because
So that
sometimes
was powerful, wasn't that, Dearest Queen? That was powerful.
yes, that's powerful. Because sometimes I feel, because I'm very in UK here, we are very time conscious. In UK here, and we can do many things within a short period, and that is why if they said they want to do something at 10 o'clock, you have to be there 10 o'clock. Like if I want to go to my GP, if I miss that time for 5 minutes, that is it. You have to reschedule your time. And that is how I've been developed. But sometimes the condition might warrant that we should relax a little bit, but not relax too much. So that is why I'm asking that question. If it's okay to time people, either for conversation or for speaking or something like that, is why I asked the question. And you've answered it well. Thank you so much, sir.
I was part of the radio programs in which probably 20 years back. I was there on just before the prime time news. So news starts at 7:30. They record some programs which is 2 minutes and 3 minutes and all that. So you have to be very precise. So if you are not precise, 2 minutes 30 seconds they'll cut you off. Correct. So you must know how to speak on a topic. See, it's like a person who can draw pictures. I can draw on a big canvas. I can also draw on a bit of paper. So a good communicator is one who knows how to communicate things in a very short span and a big span. And somebody believes that if I speak longer, I become so good. No. If you ask who was the greatest speaker from India in the whole world, Alkaji, any answer for that very generic great question? Who really?
I don't know.
Hey, nobody like Swami Vivekananda, who made the first international speech and then made the whole world. And in America, Chicago, his speech was quoted by every newspaper. And you know how many minutes was his speech? I think it's a great lesson for great speakers to understand how many minutes he spoke. This is an assignment for all of you.
It was just a very crisp thing, what I remember. Very crisp it was.
Yeah, I think everybody should first understand he was actually not ready to speak when his number was put in. 6th number, he was not ready. 7th, he was not ready. 17, he was not ready. He pushed it to the afternoon because every speaker was a fabulous, great speakers. Vijay knows this answer? How many minutes he spoke?
I know he postponed it and then...
Yeah, you should always understand it is not long speeches which capture the audience. And one of the greatest speaker of India was Swami Vivekananda, and his great speech was Chicago. If somebody gets an answer, just text me on my number. My number is there. And you hear that, at least hear 10 times to understand it. And that fabulous was his English, that fabulous was his points. And he was the man from India who went and spoke in America, Chicago, and called everybody my brothers and sisters of America. Got it? It was not a great speech by the length, but it was a great speech by the content.
Yeah. Good. That's great. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And DrTPS, 458 words. What I found out. The speech was 458 words only, and it probably lasted for about 5 minutes. But it was one of the, what do you call it, a historic kind of speeches. So, yes. Can you say something?
Yeah, definitely. Not something. I have many things to say. He started with yeah. I probably I need a different session to educate by saying life or all lectures should not be based on quotations. Number one, basically because he gave an example of a principal getting angry. If you ask that man to write, he would have written a quote on that day which is only applicable in that context, which can never be quoted anywhere else in his life. Number two, he mentioned Steve Jobs told that no, live like a person. I am sure he knows Mahatma Gandhi lived much earlier to Steve Jobs. That's a quote from Mahatma Gandhi. Yeah.
Yes.
Mahatma Gandhi gave a quote saying that live like a person as if you are going to die next moment, and learn like a person as if you are going to live in this world longer. So actually when you read a quote, you should also read much around it so that you understand, at least cut and paste that quote with some, not with the quotes, so that you get many quotes from different people and see who is the first person who told. And what he said about the don't judge, only God can judge is a Bible quote. I am sure we have pastors here, he will agree that it is from Bible. But the explanation to that talks about don't be judgmental. Being judgmental is different from judging. If any high court judge or supreme court judge listen to this and judge don't understand, means it becomes contempt of court. You can be arrested for this. So don't say that judge don't understand. Judge is understanding. Our communication with anybody else, interpretation is part of it, comparison is part of it, judging is part of it. All that is done when I communicate to somebody else also. How do you pronounce it is only different. Do I have to communicate to somebody when I judge somebody? Okay. And karma is not everyday activity. If you quote 5 laws of karma or 105 laws of karma, there are many laws of karma. Karma is not my day-to-day activity. Karma is what is beneficial for the society is only accounted in as part of karma in Eastern philosophy. Any day-to-day activity, my home affair, my job in my office is never considered as karma. Don't quote this and then put whatever day-to-day activity as applicable to that. It doesn't work together. It's like we are comparing an apple and an orange and then start giving an explanation. These are all mistakes which we do when we read from here and there. You have to understand. Okay, and then judge. Both has to be done. Don't say that if you judge, you don't understand. I am judging. That doesn't mean I did not understood. I understood it and I am judging it. So quotes are to be quoted. I wrote a book on life reflections in which I am different quotations are taken and then I am reflecting on them. Familiarity breeds contempt. Familiarity doesn't breed contempt. Familiarity only breeds love today. So that point of time, his familiarity made him to have contempt. Don't quote this today. So there are many things to say. Probably we can have different sessions and conversations on this if you want to learn. But I have never seen Vijay attending any sessions, any conversation, just appear for speeches. This is also not good for a student like you. Okay. You have to study, you have to learn, you have to listen to somebody else also very carefully. That is also must.